Hello and welcome to the Drummergy podcast, the live and interactive show about life and music. Episode 166. We are here today with Mr. Eric Gilbert from Duck Club Entertainment, Tree Fort Music Festival, Antlers Craft Radio,
Radio Boise,
musician, all around cool guy.
There we go.
Wow.
Early riser.
Early riser?
Yeah.
Are you a normal early riser?
Pretty early. This is a little earlier than I would normally.
Okay. What would be
Get
your
up, but-
normal early?
I usually get up around this time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
About
I had
the
to get
time
up
the
a
show
little.
starts?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, the Drummergy podcast is sponsored by 12th Fret Music, located at 671 South Capitol Boulevard in downtown Boise, Idaho.
That's right.
The Pacific Northwest's largest inventory of new, used, and vintage guitars, basses, amps, and accessories. I think I got it all in.
And home of the Marshall Wall.
The Marshall Wall. You've been in there, right?
Yeah, I love that they moved downtown now.
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it's great.
So I had Rob Ridgway on the first show of the year because sponsoring the show.
Yeah.
And we talked heavily about that giant Marshall wall of cabinets. And I think that he was hoping to get Guinness Book of World Records there to check it off as the largest guitar amp in the world. That would be,
we'll see. Yeah.
that would be sweet.
Yeah.
And what a great location because of all the venues that surround
it's so
that.
great for touring acts too, just to have access to strings or sticks or whatever, breakables essentially. You know,
right?
and
all the stuff that they
can go
need.
shopping too.
Yeah,
on other
absolutely.
fronts. Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
So yes, we love 12th Fret Music, and I got to check in with Rob because I put him in touch with Aquarian Drumheads and Vader Drumsticks to have a stock of heads and sticks.
I was going to say, does he actually have sticks? I don't know.
He did.
Okay,
I think
cool.
I'm not sure if it was some off-brand stick or something. I don't remember for sure. I got to double check, but yeah, it's all great stuff. Today is National Random Act of Kindness Day.
Oh.
So everybody can remember that as you're out there and you're fighting traffic and your knee-jerk reaction is to get upset over that guy that cut you off, but maybe you could just let that guy in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, producer?
Absolutely.
Yes. If we could all teach each other how to drive, that would be the random act of kindness to do, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it is just being a little patient. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we just had Valentine's Day. Did you do anything special for Valentine's Day, Eric?
My wife was actually out of town playing music, and I was hosting my daughter and her friend. I got to take them to the mall so they could check out boys.
Oh. Right on.
Which I didn't know going to the mall was still a thing, but apparently it is amongst the preteens and teens. You know? It's like their spot, is where they can go.
Man, I hadn't even considered that. We went to the Village, and there was a lot of younger teen, early 20s people.
There was a lot of all ages.
Yeah.
No, but especially that they are the ones that I noticed the most.
Oh, I didn't. Well, I guess there were some young 20s walking around.
They're
too.
doing their thing,
Yeah.
And then I try to remember, did I do that? Well, man, probably. I don't really remember exactly. But were you a mall rat?
I wasn't really. No, I mean I grew up in the suburbs, but in the mall, I grew up when the mall opened around here. It was a big deal.
Right.
It's kind of interesting going there now because it's malls are a little less relevant than they used to be, right?
Yeah.
But it was a huge deal when that opened.
Yeah, it was.
Sure.
I remember Channel 7 did like a whole pre-walkthrough the night before, and Carol and Holly was all dressed up, and they look like they're going to some movie premiere or something. And it was the mall. It was a big deal then.
Yeah,
it was a big deal.
I
Well,
must have
Nampa
just
had
go-
a mall.
Yeah, like Sam Goody there was 2 record stores there back in the day.
Sam
right?
Goody-
Music
Was it
Land.
Music Land and
Yeah.
Sam Goody.
was Sam Goody the other one?
Yeah,
I don't
Music
know.
Land and Sam Goody. Yep.
There's not really like music store there anymore,
I know.
which is okay because we have the record exchange.
We have the
which
record
is-
exchange.
Well, there's
Thank
this-
which
goodness.
is the best. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
this store, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, I think it's in the wing with Dillard's.
Yep.
And it's kind of like a scaled back Hastings.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it has some music and
Yeah.
other like pop art stuff.
Which place is it?
I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a scaled back Hastings. I think it's the same people, the same
Mhm.
company.
Oh,
Because when you walk in there, it's like totally like Hastings.
Yep.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We've got a morning chaps from Kay the drummer.
All right.
I don't remember who K the Drummer 79 is.
Ooh.
Do you know, Mary? Producer, you got to keep track of these people with their YouTube handles.
Where?
Well,
I don't see it.
Mary and I met you. Was that last spring?
I think so. Like May, maybe, or something.
That could be.
I forget exactly when it was. Early summer.
Yeah.
I forget, yeah.
You and I and Steve Fulton were on a music panel hosted by Connor and Tori Hensley from the band Town of Trees. They did this event called Tot Talks.
Yeah.
Tot Talks.
And what was there, about 30, 35 people, local musicians that showed up? And you talked about your business as being a guy running a venue and booking bands and all of that stuff, and Steve with recording. And I just think I filled in the gaps between those two worlds.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But that was really cool to meet you then, and now here you are.
Yeah. Kind of surprised it took us that long. Yeah. Just being, Boise relatively
well, everybody
small
runs in these circles,
scene.
and I have a lot of drummer friends too that I'm like, I never see you play. It's because we're all playing and we're what are they? There's a lyric to a song, but I can't think of it. Like "Strangers in the Night" or
oh boy.
I know you toured for a long time, and that was one of the things I always all our touring friends is that you'd see each other's posters at the venues.
Yeah,
but you'd never. They were in town a week after us, or a week before.
Yeah, 100%. That would be the case.
Yeah.
So that's Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall. Jim is here. Good morning, Jim. Seal, who's up in LeGrand. Seal, you're in LeGrand, I believe, right? I know you're in Oregon.
Love LeGrand.
Yeah. He was talking about the mall. Oh, and there's Mary responding to Kendall. Yeah, cool.
A little mall talk in the morning,
right?
Yeah. All for the mall walkers out there.
Do you remember the cube in the Bond?
I don't remember the.
Oh, so the cube was the cube was the
Bon
juniors. Was the juniors part of the, and it had that cool lights on the ceiling that like went.
It went.
Yeah. It was like super state of the art, like high tech. It was really cool.
Bon Marché.
The Bon. Yeah.
Well, I kind of have an outline here, Eric, and so keyboard player, and you had a band or two. What was it? The Witch something.
I'm currently in a band called Floating Witch's Head.
Floating Witch's Head.
Yeah.
Tell us about the name of.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary and I were talking about this yesterday because Mary sings and plays in the band Casio Dreams.
Oh yeah.
And how many years has it been now, Mary? 8?
Yeah.
That the band's been around?
Yeah.
And somehow we got talking about who came up with the name Casio Dreams, and she couldn't quite remember, but she had remembered a couple like suggestions or what this, and then when they said Casio Dreams, they're kind of like, I guess we'll roll with that. So tell me, how do you get to the Floating Witch's Head as a band name?
Yeah, I think like most, I don't know, I've named several bands over the years.
Okay.
Sometimes it comes faster than others.
Sure.
I'm sure you can relay it. This one in particular, like, we'd been playing for a while. In fact, we were booking gigs before we had a band name, but it was kind of like iterating through a lot of different ones. But then Travis Ward, who is the primary songwriter in the band, longtime musician in town. Do you know him?
I don't. I've heard his name, but I don't think I've met him.
Hill Folk Noir. Back in the day, he had Travis Ward and Junkyard Bandstand.
Okay,
like a bunch of bands. He's, anyways, he was just kind of like classic. Like after iterating a lot, he's like, he just put that out there, like you said, like it was from a dream of his.
Yeah.
And it was similar. It was like everyone's like, the drummer and I were like, that's the one that like feels like it.
Yeah,
feels like the band. Because ideally, I was gonna say Casio Dreams, like a perfect name for that band. You get a sense of where it lands.
Yeah, what it's gonna be with the Well, I mean, you being a keyboard player.
Yeah,
Casio, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a Casio, or do you have a Casio?
I don't right now. I actually, with my old band Finn Riggins, I had a couple of modified Casios. It was that wave of where people were like, circuit board bending them and stuff. And so I'd use them for like weird noises and stuff.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had a Casio back in the day. I think I actually still have one. I think there for a while I used it for songwriting, just like using the beats just to like, play along with. Yeah, exactly. Essentially as a fancier metronome, I guess.
Yeah. Very cool.
Funny.
Well, Floating Witch's Head, I think I've talked about this on shows before. Like, does your band name create interest? And that sounds like a band name that creates interest. Now, I've never ever listened to or seen the band Bowling for Soup.
Oh yeah, totally.
But I don't know I have a strange thing about that band name where I'm like, it doesn't interest me. But if I heard Marilyn Manson, like you hear Marilyn Manson, then you see a picture of Marilyn Manson, you're like, I gotta see what this is all about. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the imagery for Floating Witch's Head?
Well, I think for one, it sometimes gets mistaken, or it's mistakenly written as floating witches, like plural witches. But it's actually floating possessive witch's head. So it's just a floating head.
Okay.
It's a singular head. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just one floating witch.
Which is fun. There's like some people in the community. Like, there's this one awesome woman. She showed up at one of our gigs with. It was a Halloween gig, but she had created like like one of those headless costumes with just like a floating witch's head.
Oh, wow.
Her.
There you go.
Yeah.
We did a Vista Bar residency in January, which was awesome and super fun. It was a great way to practice on the weekly, and
sure.
Like, somebody in the third gig came with these, like, they'd created little floating witches' heads and gave them to each of us that could dangle off of our instruments. So it does create some imagery, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
To play with, yeah.
Mark Gruber is here.
Eric Nelson.
Thomas
Schuster.
What'd Kendall say? Real Boiseans walk in the misery outside in February. Yep. Thomas Schuster's here. Good morning, Thomas. And
I think Kendall was referencing my mall walker.
Oh, your mall walker.
He's just saying real Boiseans will walk outside. We don't
go
to the mall.
Right. Do they still do that where they open the mall?
Yeah.
And then you just can walk in there?
Yeah.
That'll be me someday.
Yep. Exactly.
Why are all these kids here? So, how did you get started as a musician in ending up in touring life?
Yeah.
And let's go through that. When did that start?
Yeah, I was thinking. So I was driving out here. I was thinking about the fact that, and I double checked with you when I got here, that I was in high school at in the West Boise here in the 90s, and I remember Midline was an active band at the time.
Yeah.
But growing up in the suburbs and here, like, I was a suburban kid that hardly went downtown, didn't really understand it. I think I went down a couple times, and it wasn't until I was played sports, still these things. I took piano lessons as a kid, but in high school, like, I didn't really connect the dots that playing music was like a real option. Like playing in bands, even though toward the end of high school, I had some friends that were in bands and play downtown a little bit. But it took, like, I started falling more into music late in high school, but I went to college as an engineering student, originally at University of Idaho. And I played a lot of sports, but in my first semester, I broke my foot. And I think that kind of helped, it created a creative outlet where I was like trying to learn guitar at the time, and just kind of was relatively quickly disillusioned with the corporate inevitability of my engineering path. So I just started exploring, I think I had like a pivot, and where I tell this story quite a bit, but there was actually this guy that was in my engineering study group or something, and he was 32 at the time, and I was like 19, and I just remember being like, "What have you been doing?" And then he's like, "I've just been following the dead and painting houses," and I think it just clicked for me. I was like, "Oh, so I have like a decade, and I can come back if I need." So it just sort of like freed up my vision to just, what if I were to apply myself, where would I want to apply it?
Sure.
It kind of first led me to creative writing. I was kind of just exploring the creative side of myself, and one day I woke up with more music classes than literature classes, and just decided I was a music major at that point. And I don't think being a music major, I definitely decoupled myself from like trying to get a degree. I wasn't like trying to get a degree as a transactional go get a job. I just wanted to learn what I wanted to learn. So I was somehow snuck into the music department at the University of Idaho, and I
snuck in.
Well, I wasn't very good. Like I was just, and I was like trying to learn guitar at the time, but then I started taking keyboard classes again, and I found myself, then my wife, Lisa Simpson, who is in the band Blood Lemon. And I spent it's kind of a long-winded story on this, but it's all kind of relevant. I did a study abroad to Vermont in my junior year, I think it was. At that point, I met her there, and she was a really active folk musician there, and was putting out records. And so I met her in music classes. That's kind of how I first started taking a bunch of music classes. So fell in love with her, and we eventually come back to Idaho. And then I was constantly lobbying her to start a band with me. And, once again, I wasn't very good. So she was just like, okay, whatever, sure. So finally talked her into letting me play in a band with her. And that original band called Steeping Orion, I played guitar in it. And we were pretty cool. It was mostly Lisa writing songs, and we were playing up in Moscow. But that kind of got my feet wet. And then I met this guy, his name was Noah at the time. And we formed a real loose band, but he was a much better guitar player than me. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just put my energy into keyboard. So I was a music major, but that was just as an excuse to practice my ass off.
There you go.
I had access to a building full of pianos.
Yeah.
And was just trying to, I spent a lot of time in there just doing
just playing like crazy.
Yeah, just playing. As ironically, like in engineering probably would have been an easier path for me, because in music you're never good enough, right? It's like there's no end to the homework. And
exactly.
Which was, I loved the challenge of that. And so amidst all that, I started doing sound on the student sound team up there. Then I was like annoyed that all the concerts on campus weren't very good, so I got active in that. And so I just started learning the whole of all of the music side of things, and got active in setting up shows, and that naturally led to how to set up shows for my own band and promote those. So we end up the band up in Moscow. I was in several bands up there, but one in particular played like John's Alley, like all the time. I don't know if you guys ever play.
We didn't play John's Alley, but I've been there multiple times.
You were staying your days, not really a bar band,
right? Yeah,
that's as good as the venue set up there. So but anyways, that's kind of cut my teeth. Was in music school, but was really in rock and roll school, and music school was just like a way to like learn whatever I could. So I was a music theory major at the time. And that kind of led to then, I was in Moscow for a decade, essentially. We graduated, and my wife got a master's in music history there. And she was teaching at the music school. I was still playing in that band. We toured regionally. And then we started working on a record for Lisa in 2006. I was learning to record and, doing all that.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when we started this band called Finn Riggins with his drummer friend Cam Buyas, who had been in multiple, like we had 3 or 4 bands in Moscow, and he also was sort of a black sheep in the music department. We were more like rock and roll kids than other things. And so in 2006, we quit our jobs. At that time, we were 27, so we were still pretty young, but also kind of were like, if we're going to do this, let's do it now. And that's when we formed Finn Riggins with Lisa, Cam, and I. And so the one thing to point out is like, we actually when we formed Finn Riggins, there was one other band I was doing this before, but bass players, at least in a small town like that, had become pretty unreliable. So
wait, did you say a bass player that was unreliable?
Oh my goodness!
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that bass players are unreliable? Who knew?
Thus, as a keyboard player, I started basically playing left-hand bass. So I haven't played in a band with a bass player in a long time.
Oh wow!
I basically just
So you're left-handed?
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I just with the keys you can.
His left hand.
On the keyboard. Yeah. Gotcha.
So now in Floating Witch's Head in particular, I have more of a dedicated bass synth, and that's essentially So I started. Yeah. Once again, I've gotten modestly good at it over time, but it was just out of necessity. I'm not like one of those jazz players that can, seen some great players be able to really play like that.
Right. Yeah.
So Finn Riggins was a trio with me playing keys, and we all 3 of us wrote a lot of the songs and stuff. And similarly, we actually went to Haley, Idaho, which was kind of backwards. A lot of our friends were moving to Portland. But we were able to live pretty cheap there, and we just used it as a base. And I always say we started touring before we had any fans. We just were, we didn't have any fans there. We started just like booking shows all over the region. And pretty soon, from that band in August of 26, by 2007, we were touring the whole States, and once again, without fans. But we did meet a label out of Portland late 2006, and they put out our first record in 2007 and some stuff.
Oh, fun.
And so we had, support from a bigger scene. And,
Right.
Nice.
So for the next 5 years, we were similarly like playing 200 shows a year. And,
wow.
Living in a van.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
one thing that
our
really
address was in Idaho the whole time. But
okay.
Yeah.
That's where the mail was sent.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, I got a couple bass players weighing in. Hey now. Jamie and Mark.
James
I
says,
fully respect all you bass players. Like, I love watching bass players now, trying to understand them.
Jamie Vink, or James Harrison says Jamie Vink was watching.
Jamie Vink was watching.
Oh man.
Well, I think JB and Mark both know I love those guys. One
So
thing that really,
that's kind of long. Yeah, that's how I got into it. Yeah.
One thing that struck me
at
the beginning of that story is that you ran into somebody that you said, "Hey, what's been going on?" He's like, "Well, I've just been painting houses and following the dead." And you're like, "Wait a second, this section of my life could still be waiting for me, but maybe now is my time to do this other thing." And take that risk and those chances.
I love sharing that with young folks because everyone gets all this pressure. You're like leaving high school and like you're gonna fall behind if you don't just stay on this like trajectory. But,
right?
But people say life is short, but life is also long, and you have time. Right? It's worth trying.
What are you gonna do with your life now that you just went like this with your tassel? Like, get out there and live a little bit.
Yeah. So
Greg says bass players are like unicorns. They kind of are.
Yeah, for the record, if you can get one and they stick around,
right?
They're definitely great. Yeah.
So one thing that you talked about was, you're watching these shows happen, and so did you notice like the quality of sound wasn't very good, or low attendance, or maybe just kind of observing like this could be better in these different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Was that part of what got you excited about producing shows and booking shows and creating events that led to, well, we want to get to the Tree Fort part and the Duck Club part of that. But like, so what was the bridge from that? Like all your experience being in a band, your songwriting and knowing the struggles of a band out on the road. Like you said, we were out on the road, but had no fans and like, how did you keep the band working when it was kind of in that state?
Well, we started getting some fans. So that helped. That was part of it. But like touring, we could sustain touring. We just couldn't necessarily create enough to pay our bills back home.
Yeah.
But like I think like it's a challenging lifestyle. And I'm kind of really passionate about the fact that touring is a great life experience. So I kind of encourage everyone to find it if they can. It's okay if it doesn't sustain itself forever. It's still worth doing, right? I'm sure you can relate to that. And because becoming like a purely full-time musician is definitely a hard thing to attain.
That's for sure.
But it doesn't make playing music not worth it otherwise, right?
Yeah.
You can do other things, and then all of us play music still and do other things, and it's still a great part of our life, you know? And so I think like as a young musician, you get stuck in this, I'm going to either make it or I'm going to go get a job, right? And it doesn't have to be as black and white as that, So,
I used to think that was the case.
Totally, right?
Yeah,
See?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That was, and I mean, that's a whole nother discussion is full-time musicians now have multiple streams of income, but for me, that's like in a bunch of different areas of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where a lot of people, have a day job or a flexible job that they can come and go sort of as their boss will allow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you started getting involved with all of that. So
I can answer your other question too, if that's where you want.
Yeah.
So I think like, especially when I was in college, like setting up shows, I think I just have always sort of had the approach of like, instead of like kind of complaining about things that aren't happening or things that are happening that I don't like as much, just like go fill the gaps. Right. And so that's kind of where, just was always setting up our own shows, creating events in what I'd like to see. And I guess relatively young age, figured out kind of how, and that's just basically by you just get off your ass and try. You know, to a degree, right?
Sure.
So in that, similar with touring, like I just figured out booking my band, and so I got fairly well known, especially in the Portland scene, because we were tied to that. Like I was just booking, tons of tours for us. Everyone was like, what is, you guys are monsters. Your tour, we were doing like 80-day tours and just doing all this crazy stuff. And it was really thorough about how we did it too. Like we were playing everything from house shows to bar gigs, like anything that we could find. Right.
Yeah.
So that led to me then starting to help others book their tours. And that's kind of got me a little bit on that side of the industry, essentially as a DIY booking agent for other bands. And then really, as far as like getting more involved, particularly in Boise, because at that, I pivoted from setting up a lot of events in Moscow, doing some touring, to like, we were just touring all the time. So it was pretty much just focused on my own band, setting up shows, setting up tours with other bands, but, collaborating on things. There's a couple things that happened. Then we started doing this barn party up outside of Fairfield called Ranch Fest. That was basically our drummer's family bought this ranch, and it was, modest piece of land in Fairfield, but they did like a ranch warming party or something, and we played it, and then I took a year off, and then 2 years later they wanted to do it again, and so I started just booking bands for that. And then before long we were inviting all our touring friends, and it evolved in this like DIY mini festival that over time it was invite only, got like 1,000 people were coming out for the weekend.
Wow.
Camping there. But that was really kind of the initial, because I guess I just kind of held the perspective, like, self-promotion can be difficult. It's hard to like figure out exactly your angle, but like promoting those around you, like other bands, was like exciting to me. And it was a great way to sort of build the scene around you. And that's kind of how I think I started getting into the promoter role, because all bands have to be promoters too,
right?
To some degree, right? You have to learn how to do the same like tools. And so, so in 2009, my wife and I relocated back to Boise because my dad was dealing with some health stuff, but we still were touring really heavily into 2009, 2010. But when I was home, I started doing sound at Visual Arts Collective, and I had some background sound. Yeah, started doing some sound at the Bouquet. I was just kind of doing sound when it was a good gig to have when I was home, right? Yeah. And so that kind of got me plugged in a little bit. And then really 2011, and the way I like to think of it, and I think mostly kind of how it happened, is like when we toured, we mostly slept on floors. So like in 2011, we started touring less, and all of a sudden, like all that karmic debt was coming due. Everyone was like, that had helped us set up shows in all cities all around. They're like, hey, we want to come to Boise. So I was basically just started by setting up shows for all these friends' bands. Doing that for years, and did it not under any name. Just, sometimes our band would play, sometimes I would just help set it up and invite other locals. But all along, I've always, there were a period of time, like skipping ahead, where like I wasn't playing as much, and people were like, do you really miss playing? And man, I guess I did, but I always get as much joy out of like, facilitating and just creating the event and letting others play too. Is like kind of was the same dopamine hit.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how I sort of became a promoter, but it has always been out of purely just wanting to promote music and, like encourage my friends to come play in Boise, and helping encourage people to go check out bands they hadn't ever heard of. Because as you know, like, and you're in the music scene, like there are way more, like I always think of like classic rock, like there's, 100 bands we maybe know for that time period, but how many thousands of amazing bands we don't know about that were active. Because when you're in it, you see tons of great, and only some hit the zeitgeist of the mainstream, right? So anyways, that's kind of but I'm just passionate about.
So that, you were getting, even though you weren't playing the show, you were getting just as much joy by helping others succeed and knowing how they feel too. Yeah. Making a show successful.
And I loved at that time, bands don't sleep on my floor as much as they used to, but because I feel like I found the balance after years of the karmic imbalance. But for a long time, it was like literally making sure they had the best experience, from like start to finish. Yeah, you have a place to stay. We'll set up the show. I'm going to promote my ass off, and make sure people are there, because that had been done for us so many other places. And a lot of joy in that.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was 2011-ish?
Yeah. I think that's really when I started getting more active. And that's also when I collided with Lori Chandra, who helped me co-found the like festival. because she was looking to get active in the music scene as a fan, and because I was as active as I was one of the more active, like setting up shows and stuff. She sort of a lot of signs pointed her my direction because she needed help.
Yeah,
she needed to find somebody in the music world that knew what was going on.
What was the official first year of the Treefort Music Festival?
It was 2012.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember how was it still 5 days then?
Well, I pitched it to Lori at the time so that story is basically like Lori was looking to open a music venue at the time. She had some money set aside because her husband had passed away a couple years prior to that. She wanted to do something meaningful with that. With that money, was a music fan. And the story goes that she was reaching out to agents, and one of the main national agents suggested she find someone who's done anything with music before. I think they were a little like, okay, this is cool, but you probably need a partner that knows the music world. So she was asking around town and stuff in that letter to me in 2011. And, she asked me if I'd help set up some shows, which at the time I was like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. And you'll pay for them. Cool. Yeah. Let's do this. And then a week later we met, and I was like, actually, some friends and I have been talking about doing a festival. And I pitched it as a 3-day, 60 band festival. But by the first year, so that was, we pulled off in 6 months. The first year it ended up being 4 days and 140 bands. So it grew even from its initial thought.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things with that, so in 2010, Finnegan's played South by Southwest for the first time, thanks to our distributor. It's like, as most things happen there. But we were the only Idaho band there. So I got really passionate about this notion of like, well, I told this story way too many times, but it's relevant because you've been part of this scene for a long time. Yeah. We did an interview on that tour from a writer in Michigan that asked us what it was like coming from a musically devoid state like Idaho. And it just has stuck with me for so long. Because I was like, we just laughed. Yeah. We're like, devoid? Like, just because you haven't heard of it.
Right. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. So I got really passionate around this idea of like, because at that time people were like, you should just move to Portland or do this. And I'm like, I'm being an Idaho guy. I was just stubborn about like, that can't be the only option.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, I got real passionate about trying to set up a Boise showcase at South by Southwest. And we did in 2012, the first year of the festival too.
Okay.
But working on that kind of coupled into then putting on Treefort as I met Lori. And I guess part of that, I was going to say that in 2011, I helped some friends and bands play a show at Visual Arts Collective. I call it the 0 year of Treefort because it was the week after South by Southwest. South by Southwest. We played in a couple of bands. Ended up being 6 bands on the bill, and I just rebranded as a post South by Southwest mini fest. And
gotcha.
Like press picked it up, which was hilarious to me. And then all these bands started reaching out because at that time, so many bands from the West were going to Austin because it was just a really important piece of the puzzle.
Sure. Yeah.
But routing to get home to Seattle and Portland was so limited. There was all these bands that needed stops, and so Treefort, in part, when it started, was designed to just give all those bands a place to play on their way home.
Sure.
And so that's the main correlation with South by Southwest. And then, and so thus that 2011 mini fest thing kind of showed the signs of like, there's something here that we can, work with. There's a lot of bands that need a place to play. And So anyway, so 2012 was the first year of the festival. Like I said, once we announced it, we ended up with more bands than we could deal with, and to some degree.
Man, so that's 2012, and now it's 2026.
Eric, 14th year.
Wow.
And,
So is it in? It's in March, isn't it? This next month?
Yeah, it's a month from next Wednesday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got everything confirmed?
Yeah. Well. An event that size is funny because I was just dealing with this. It's like I've gotten comfortable with the fact that it's never actually fully confirmed. It's just like there's always a band that has to drop off or somebody, so it's an organic creature, but for the most part, yes.
Do you know off the top of your head right now how many bands you expect to play?
I don't know the exact number, but it's around 560. I mean, that's counting DJs, so but still, that's independent.
560 acts.
Yeah, is that crazy?
That is absolutely mind-staggering stuff.
And the crazy thing is, like,
how do you manage 560 acts, Eric, in 5 days.
We've built a pretty good system.
Okay, you gotta have people.
We're crazy enough to deal with it.
Yeah.
I always think of it, and this is, I don't mean to diminish it, but it is just one show multiple times over.
Okay,
right? If it that's the same way I'm with a soundboard. Like, all the buttons look crazy, but if you realize it's just one channel,
right,
multiple times,
sure,
you're like,
okay,
you're like, anxiety goes down.
Gotcha.
So it's similar, I guess.
Well,
but it is crazy.
You and I both know, being in bands, like when you're out there and you're playing shows and there's always questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get to the venue and sometimes the person on paper or the person that you've been texting or emailing with, they're not even there, and you don't know who you're supposed to be talking to, and there's always some logistical things. Like, I can't imagine 560 acts with all those
factors
happening simultaneously.
Yeah,
it's got to be. But you said earlier, like, you get so much joy out of other people having that joyous experience, that dopamine hit, like you're talking about, and I'm sure that's got to be stressful from time to time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like,
but you have made up in your mind. Well, you've done it for several years now too, so you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah. Also, and I say this about being a parent too, but being in a touring band, like, hardens, it makes you good at rolling with the punches.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just sort of good at that. Like,
okay.
You do everything you can do, and then if it doesn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen, figure it out. So
that's true.
So it helps. Like I said, I don't want to diminish it, because there's a lot of people that participate in making it all run smooth, but it does take just like keeping cool about it, and just realizing that none of it's the end of the world.
That's so true. That's so true. When in these days, when I'm playing shows and something's not quite right or what you expect, a lot of times I just, however, 25 years ago, I may have been upset about it. I might have been like, we're not, that's not how this is going down. Kind of thing,
And we, of course, deal with musicians that are maybe still in that mindset. And it's good. I mean, good artists care a lot about their products. So there's nothing wrong in them caring, right?
Yeah.
And that's also, from the get-go with Tree for production and artist care was like a core principle.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like a lot of people, and I'm not, in the event space in general, don't understand how important sound is.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. So we have this debate within our band, because I started getting to where I think bands care mostly about sound.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of ranking it in my trio. We were kind of different. We have different opinions, but we've come to that they all need to balance each other out. So it's either sound, because if it sounds good, like, you can play your music, ideally great sound on stage, great sound in the room. It feels like what you're doing is worthwhile.
100%.
At that point, money matters and crowd matters. So those we like to debate around this, but those things have to balance themselves out, right?
Okay.
So if it's going to sound bad, it better pay well, right?
Okay.
Or like, you need at least two of those. Right? It's going to sound bad, it better be a great crowd, and the money pays well. If there's no crowd, better pay well and sound good. So like, ideally you get all three like humming at the anyways. Right. But sound is so often like not understood by a lot of people that want to put on shows, or they start a venue and they don't realize like what it takes for really good sound. They go shopping for a sound system, or they think all bands have a sound system. You know what I mean? And it's like, but that's such a crucial way to make a band feel comfortable, is good production, right?
Yeah.
Which sounds like you guys always prefer to play good.
Yes. Yes.
Lighting too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When it's so true. Like, if it feels and sounds good on stage, and it feels and sounds good to the audience, that alone to me is worth a lot.
Yeah. Especially at our age. Like,
right.
I'm happy with that. Right.
If I'm dealing with somebody that's sort of new to the game of doing sound, and you constantly have this, you know, these feedback things, and they can't seem to sort it out relatively quickly. That's one of those things that starts to, and what's even worse is when that's happening and the person that can't seem to figure it out. I think my experience would tell me a lot of sound engineers have this puffy chest. You can't tell me anything because I know what I'm doing, and then they start telling you, you know, they worked for Bon Jovi or whatever their thing is, you know, the stereotypical sound guy, right? So that is definitely. And as a person who enjoys going and seeing bands, you can see a band that you just know is killing it, but the sound out front is so terrible, and
it's frustrating.
A singer goes to sing and they're singing, and 40 seconds later you can start to hear it. It's like, is the sound guy asleep?
Totally.
Do you not see that this person is? I could go on.
No, for sure.
I could rant.
Well, and
I'm ranting, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, being on both sides of that, like, I've definitely been in a position where I'm doing everything I can and it still sounds bad when I'm a sound person. So I empathize with that. But and I agree with you. Like, that's actually been a problem that's one thing I'm really happy about. Like our production team with Duck Club, we talk a lot about it's customer service first. You know, like because I've dealt with so many just like jaded sound
sure.
It's like,
I'm sure you have.
Well, it's for me, being in music in general, it's like we could all go get better quote unquote jobs. Like, if you're here, like, we might as well enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So why are you making it less enjoyable? So like, that's pretty passionate. That's a passion that we have with our approach, and it's a great way to make a band feel comfortable. Is just have good customer service around that first, and then hopefully be a good sound person too. But most of that's solvable if you can just, like, you know, be cool to start.
Well, being cool to start, like, I've played many venues where you put the show together or you're on the bill, but then the sound, the crew, the sound crew, whoever's involved with the venue that night, they sort of treat you like a prisoner. Yeah.
Or they just seem annoyed that you're there.
Oh, great. Now we got to deal with.
Totally.
You have how many drums?
Yeah.
Do you really need all? You know, it's just like they act like you're putting them out. So, like, let's go out of our way to make the experience the worst we possibly can. And it's like, what? Yeah. Down to, like, you can't use that bathroom, or you can't. I mean, it's like, what?
Or whatever. Like telling the guitar player how many amps they should or shouldn't use.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, cause especially, like, you know, I'm keen to, like, I like a lot of weird bands. Like, so I love sound people that just get that, like, okay, this is what they're trying to do. Yeah. And we're here to be sound reinforcement and work with them. Yeah. To make it great, as opposed to, totally. But it's a huge part of it. And that's one thing that I know, coming from the artist side and from the sound side, I'm just passionate about that being an important piece of the puzzle.
Well, there's got to be, like, we could probably get stuck on this topic, but I think well-established bands or bands that have been seasoned, they've got some experiences under their belt, some years, and they've had time to refine what they're doing. They too kind of get used. It's like all the things that bother everybody starts to get less. But then maybe you have a band that's not so great, and you're just doing everything you can to try to make them sound good, and then there's just no. Yeah.
But I think that's
that garbage in, garbage out kind of scenario, right?
I mean, it's sound reinforcement, not like sound mass. You can't, like, polish a turd. Like,
right, exactly.
You can only do so much.
Right. Yeah.
If the drums are all out of tune and, you know, whatever it is. You know, so. But I also think it's important in a scene, you know, to, like, make young bands feel comfortable and do everything you can to try, as opposed to just shaming them for not knowing, you know, and also not knowing, like, how to use a monitor. Like, at some point they have to learn, right? Yeah. So I think it's important on those of us that are, once again, being, you know, the elders in the scene and trying to help, you know, help give people opportunities and encourage them into it. We have to give them some grace and help them learn some of these things. Yeah. But Yeah.
Now, see, when we were kids,
Yes.
the main sound company in town was Arena Sound and Lighting, and it was Rick Schroeder. Now, do you know Rick Schroeder?
Oh yeah,
or you probably know
well,
Nika.
his daughter Nika works for us.
Okay,
and she's amazing.
Yeah. And her mom Debbie was an incredible sound engineer as well.
Yeah.
But when I was first getting in the scene, even pre midline, you know, you're so excited to play this show, and you've got this sort of imposing gentleman with long hair, and he's just grumpy all the time.
Yep.
But once you kind of got to know Rick, like, there were so many musicians, I guess, of my generation that you could say that we went to the school of Rick Schroeder.
Nice. Yeah.
And we learned so much from him, but it was always delivered in kind of an abrasive, rough way. And once you kind of got past that layer of him, then he just loves you and you love him, right? Totally. But I think some of the younger people are missing out on that tough love, so to speak. See, Jamie says, amen. Jamie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, brother.
In defense of the sound people, I think a lot of them were jaded because they were just treated like shit by artists for a long time.
Yeah, probably so.
This is, though, the challenge is being a sound person. If it sounds great, the band is great. If it sounds bad, there's something wrong with the sound person. They say, you know what I mean?
It's always the sound.
It's always, you know, but to your point, the band could be like have horrible sound from stage, but it's the sound person's problem. So it can be a thankless job at times, and so I understand that.
Yeah,
that's why I encourage musicians to learn sound, learn some side of it, so they can empathize and better communicate to sound folks. Yeah, because the more we can kind of make that partnership a healthier one, it's good for everybody.
Right. Right. Well, see, you need to open a music school, Eric.
There we go.
Where you can help people with all of this information.
There you go. The other,
because you need another job
there. I mean, I'm curious what you think of this, because it's kind of related. Is like, it's so funny in the music world. There's all this like show etiquette, you know, that no one talks about. It's sort of, you have to sort of like learn it by screwing up, you know,
right?
Or some scene friend finally tells, because it's just like, you know, like the whole like, you know, don't load out during the other bands, like stuff like that. No one says until you're doing it, and then they're being yelled at, and then everyone's passive aggressive about it, just like fuck those, fuck those guys, you know what I mean? Yeah. But there needs to be like, and I've seen it in some scenes, but almost like just a starter kit, like here's what will help you earn the respect of your peers, you know.
Cliff notes for dummy musicians.
Exactly.
Jamie, I'm going to highlight Jamie's comment about Rick Schroeder. The first time I met him, talking about Rick, he lectured me on how to play bass live. Now, I am pretty confident that Rick Schroeder was also a very accomplished guitar player and had done a lot of touring and things like that in his past. And yeah.
I'm sure
Papa Rick.
We never talked about it, but he probably disagreed with my not having a bass player. Keys bass. He probably definitely disagreed with how I ran the signal and all those things.
Well, I mean, it could be. Yeah, exactly, it could be. Exactly. Could be the case.
It was a mess. Yeah, it was a
problem. Well, I got stuck on the live sound thing.
I mean, it's such a big one, and so back to like, that's that. So production is just a huge part of what keeps things going smooth, you know. So
okay, so you got 560. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I mean, if you tried harder, you could get 600.
So I did want to say this earlier. Like, the crazy thing, and I think there's close to 200 locals, and there's still probably 200 locals that actively submitted and didn't get accepted.
Okay.
You know, and
then, I was going to ask.
And then there's even more that didn't even apply. I mean, so it's a sign of a healthy scene that there's a lot of great bands here, right? And not all of them are playing the festival. I think at times people that don't get in that try feel like everyone got accepted except for them because there's 560 bands. But,
right.
So we have open submissions. We usually get about 3,000 submissions from all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And we accept about 10% of those. So 300 come out of the submissions. But we also get, so in addition to that, all the major agencies, all the small we get submissions from all the agencies from all over too.
Yeah.
So I think it's the submission process. I mean, there's very few festivals that are accessible to independent artists that aren't represented by a talent agency of some sort. So passionate about making that submission process available.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it backfires a bit because there's a lot of people that are upset if they don't get in and they don't understand the process. And because it's not, I mean, it is. And the fact that, and we try to communicate this, it's like, I mean, once again, at my core, I want to encourage people to do this, and it's fun to be able to, accept people into the festival.
Yeah.
I hate the process of saying no, because that's could be received as discouragement, which shouldn't be, as you.
Oh yeah.
Like there's lots of gigs none of us get. Like that's
the
normal.
Music business is full of rejection, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. And a lot of people do take it as motivation to, work harder on it.
Yeah.
One of the things that the open submission process has done for at least the local scene is it helps them kind of get their EPK together. When we first rolled that out, you need a bio, you need a photo, you need these links in it. There's a lot of, you need recordings. I think it actually really is, between Radio Boise going on air and some of this stuff, it kind of helped the local studios, because everyone's like, oh, I got to record. And so I like this sort of, we're sort of like a prompt once a year for people to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Which is of course helpful, writing prompts are good for artists. And so that's kind of how I feel like we function to a degree. And then there's this, it's a complicated, and then in the end there's finite space. So that's the thing, is like, we have to say no, because most people are like 560, like you said, you try harder, you could have 600. Like, I actually wouldn't have to try hard, right? And we have to find some more venues, which we don't have the capacity for. Okay, at some point it breaks.
How many venues, Eric, do you need to support that many acts?
Yeah. Well, I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's around 30 music stages at peak on Saturday.
Because there's outdoor ones, right?
There's several outdoor ones, and then we are pretty keen on keeping the footprint in the downtown core, so it's all like
they're not going all over. They're not going to Eagle for something.
Yeah. So, and we for example, we use Hannah's only on one day, so there's definitely like, we could have more bands. So I'm saying my team would strangle me though. So it's like at some point, it's like.
Well, you've done this how many years? So 12. I got to do my math. 14 years. Do you have a lot of the same people helping you every year that have kind of been on board for the ride?
Yeah, there's definitely a core that have been there since the beginning.
Okay.
And one of the things that helped when we post-pandemic, when we built Treefort Music Hall and took over Shrine, kind of built the business a little bit more on a year-round basis. There's more of a steady core, because for the first 10 years pre-pandemic, it was like a very small team that we could sustain on a year-round basis. So it was it was very seasonal, which was a little harder to build stability. And even though we did have still like a core of people that would come back and help. Yeah. But there's a lot of institutional knowledge that helps it function. There's a lot of turnover within that, but it's a pretty cool. I mean, there's so many people that work on the festival. So just for context, like Duck Club Entertainment now, I think it's the number's 23 or 24 full-time people that work on it year round, which is crazy. And awesome. One of the things I guess I'm most proud of is being able to, have built out these, career opportunities for people that want to work in this space,
Right.
And then on top of that, if you count like techs and security and bartenders, about 70 people that work for Duck Club year round. And then the festival scales up to, I think it's about another 120, 150 contractors, and then 700, 800 volunteers. So it kind of swells into this, like this time of year, it's this big army, but it works because I like to think of it as it's not even centrally managed, it's like centrally supported. And then everyone kind of just, takes ownership over their part of it.
That's awesome.
It's a big collaborative process, and that's why it works. Because if it was just me on high waving my hands around, everyone would have left long time ago, So
So going back to 2012, when was Duck Club Entertainment born?
Yeah, so I told you the story about when Lori wanted to open a venue, right?
Yeah.
And so the name she had for the venue at the time was Duck Club, and that was because her late husband had a hunting club called the Duck Club. I think it was out in like Marsing or Weiser or somewhere. There was like a piece of land.
Gotcha.
So that was the name for that. And so when she first approached me, that was she was looking at trying to open a venue. We pivoted that into starting the festival, and after that first year of the festival, we had talked about how I was doing all that other promotion, and when we started the festival, I was still working at Pie Hole and touring and she helped fund that enough that I, as we get closer to the festival, I just quit Pie Hole. So post festival, it went well enough. It's like, hey, I want to keep doing this. I want to put all my energy to this direction.
Yeah.
And then part of that too was that we started the festival. A big part of it was like, we wanted to elevate the local scene, but we were also telling all the touring, either touring friends or the touring market at large, that we know you want Boise to be a better market. Let us help you build it. And the festival, so come play the festival. The festival is meant for that, but that also insinuated that then there's gonna be follow-up plays to that. And so we were, we instantly had people wanting to come back, and we wanted to put our name to it, but we didn't want to overuse the Tree Fort name. So that's kind of when it was like, oh, well, why don't we form this other wing of the company called Duck Club, and basically take the promoter I was being without a name and doing that,
make that become
true. And so that's kind of where the Duck Club name came from. In the end, Duck Club Entertainment is our parent company essentially, and it essentially is what puts on Tree Fort, but Tree Fort's the brand that everyone knows.
So it's kind of when was the music hall built?
So the music hall was built, so basically like
that took over the old Staples Office Depot.
I remember it as an Office Depot, but enough people remember it as Staples that I could be wrong. They're kind of the same thing. So
some office supply place.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we had been talking to that developer a little bit pre-pandemic, because when about 2018 we started getting serious about, okay, maybe a venue makes sense for us now. And like, we saw some gaps in the market that we could help fill and further bolster the local scene. And then during the pandemic, it was, so we didn't get too far. We were at least in conversation with folks, but during the pandemic, we were sort of like, okay, do we come back? We were a pretty scrappy team, working on pretty thin margins before, and very few of us could be sustained. And it was sort of like, what's a vision for the future that can make this really work? And that was like, I think we need to revisit the venue thing. And that's when we approached the developer, and was like, it was kind of a weird time during the pandemic. It was sort of like, we don't have a business, we don't have any money, but if we build this venue, I swear it'll work.
Right.
So that was kind of, so we started building it during essentially, I guess construction started in summer of 22, and it opened in 23.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which it opened the same week that we moved the festival main stage to the park. And the team went through a lot those couple of years. And then simultaneously, the Shriners, we had been talking to Shriners for years. Like, if you're ever going to sell this, talk to us. We don't want to see this go away.
Yeah.
In the middle of building Tree Fort Music Hall, because the real estate market was going off. And they were like, all right, we're ready to sell. We're like, right now? Like, this is not good timing.
Yeah.
And that's a cool story in the sense that, our offer was, I think it was like $500,000 lower than several other offers, but every other offer was going to knock it down. Right.
Gotcha.
So for us, we just we can't see that go. So luckily we found a capital partner, one of our main investors, because once again, we had the relationship with the Shriners, but didn't really have any money. And so,
and that's got an upstairs and downstairs,
which is
venues.
Yeah. So downstairs it's awesome. It's a 300 cap. It's like more of a development room, which is great for touring acts to, as most, other than on the production side, like, it's great to fill a room, whatever size that it is. But then basically goes 300 cap, 700 cap, and then the music hall is a little over 1,000 cap. So it helps create a ladder. Obviously you play the knit a lot. The knit's a big part of this market too. I love that they have a small room too now.
The one upstairs, something parallel.
9th Street parallel.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And because another thing we were really passionate about, in fact, Nathan Walker on our team and I and Ryan Peck from Boise Rock School started a nonprofit called Boise All Ages Movement Project in 2016, I think it was. Because one of the things we noticed with the festival, we activated all these other spaces, like event spaces. So we added all this all ages event space to the market for 5 days. And so we saw a lot of youth engagement, but then that would contract. And so for a long time, like, the shredder back in the day, the venue, and the knitting factory were kind of the only all ages opportunities.
Yeah.
And so it was something we were really passionate about, a lot in the city, and just trying to establish some sort of, at the time, like a nonprofit all ages space. That didn't happen, but it's so cool now with like Realms being part of the scene, the shredder. There's actually more all ages spaces than 21 plus places that book touring and independent.
Yeah.
artists, and that's so important for a young scene.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And the Knitting Factory is great, but small rooms are even more important. I would say bands need a place to suck first, right?
Yeah.
They have to be able to go play somewhere. And even Boise Rock School has like 100 cap or even smaller, 70 cap that they do some shows in now too.
So
and
with
Realms,
the
it's so cool.
I'm
and the basement, and then
I'm spacing on the well, it's not really in downtown. Why am I spacing on the rehearsal?
Oh, Rock Office?
No. Dang it.
The bomb shelter?
No. There's a it's right off of Overland near Vista.
Oh, Boise Hive.
Yeah,
No?
is that part of the scene too?
Yeah.
Because they have that.
That's actually
small room.
That's like the best starting place. I think most bands these days, it seems like a lot. Like I actually deal, when I see the submissions for Treefort, a lot of their only shows have been at the Boise Hive Saturday night thing.
Yeah,
it's been huge for the scene.
Yeah,
because it's such a safe space for somebody to try. Right. It's
right.
It's just encouraging, and you need that. But then you also need the ability to grow and play the professional stages and learn how to play those too, because it's a lot different to learn how to play with monitors and to play to a bigger crowd, and lights, and so we need that spectrum of the opportunities really to build out people's ability to then like tour from here and be taken seriously, and so
well, it sounds like there's just so much opportunity for everybody. And then one thing is just like wading through. I'm sure you can't be the only person looking at over 3,000 submissions. And you talked about this balance thing of production and money and crowd.
Yeah.
The Treefort Music Festival can't take a bath.
Exactly.
Right. So I would assume in part of the decision-making process on who plays is who's going to draw. Right.
Yeah.
So that people would have a reason to feel good about spending whatever it costs to, like you have like a 5-day pass, right?
Yeah.
Or you can choose individual events as well.
It's a 5-day pass, and then you can do single-day passes, which is like kind of full festival. You go to any of the venues. There's very few single stage passes, but there is, you can buy like essentially a main stage. We call it a main stage pass, but it's like kind of everything in the park. And that's kind of the biggest one you could buy, just like a single area too. And then, usually like the Knitting Factory shows have some single tickets, and then but for the most part the venues are filling up without that, and so we want to preserve the value of the wristband. And one of the things we love about the wristband experience is, once again, so to your point, yes, there's a balance, right? There are definitely people we care about draw, but one of the things we fostered from the beginning is calling a festival of discovery. And one of the things that I'm excited about, that in a market that historically people either go see their friends or they go see people they've already heard of, but like it wasn't a very well-trained market to go see bands they hadn't heard of. For 5 days now, they'll buy a pass and bounce around. And so the thing I like about the pass is it frees them up to just go try. And so they'll go listen to things they wouldn't have. So
maybe
otherwise.
They don't feel like they're kind of stuck in the one thing. Like if they go and they're not digging it, they can move on to the next thing. And I like what you said. Like it's a, did you say Festival of Discovery? That. Wow.
So we really sold it as that. Like, it's not ever been that heavily emphasized on the headliner side of things. Actually, it's more about buy the experience, come discover some bands. And thus there's people are real nerds about it too. They'll go through the schedule. We have a whole app that you can like schedule out where you're going to go. And like, I think really small bands are always surprised, especially because people are like very punctual. Like they'll be setting up and the venue will be empty. They're like, oh man, no one's going to be here. And then right as they're going to start, like people just
flood in.
And, so I think, yes, I think when we look at, especially like most of the smaller acts, probably like the bottom 300 or whatever, however bottom you define it as, we care less about what their draw is and more that it looks like they're trying, right? They're aspiring to like build their business around this, or, when we look at bands from the this goes for local too, but we definitely pay attention to how are they acting in their scene? Are they actually promoting themselves and those around them? Are they setting up shows? Do they look like they're like active, cause like, and then, I mean, sometimes we get people that haven't hardly played a show and they play like, whoa, this is really exciting. Let's see, have them play. But usually if they're active, they probably have a draw of some sort,
Well, it would appear that you're really willing to give somebody a chance.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that mindset has to do with your own personal experience of trying to get your band out there and trying to create relationships with talent buyers and venue owners or club managers and things like? How much does that influence Treefort?
A lot, because like I said, like getting on festivals is a real challenge for underrepresented. It's like chicken or the egg thing. If I get on this festival, I'll be able to do all this stuff, but I can't get on. I can't even figure out who to talk to. There's no, I don't even know where the access point is, right? And it's pretty common around the country, even at venues. And I get it. A lot of venues, on the venue side, it's harder. Venues have to be a little bit more attached to, is this band going to bring people on this night, right?
Right.
Yeah. So with the festival, I do feel like it's really freeing to be like, yeah, who seems like they have potential. We know we're going to have a crowd that we can give that to them, right?
Yeah.
And we can give them a professional experience. And I also am pretty, I guess, passionate, but I don't know if it's that strong, but I will stand by that. I think when a local band plays the festival, like their set matters, but what matters more is they're attending and they're going and hanging out in the artist lounge and they're just and they're getting to witness all this other talent and get inspired.
Yeah.
But really, it's such an opportunity. You call it a festival discovery, right? And that's, in traditional like South by Southwest, you're hoping to get discovered by the industry or something like that.
Yeah.
In this case, like there's press and there's industry around, but just being discovered by your peers is more powerful than most, right? And so the fact we have all these other regional acts, that could be a show in Portland, a show in Seattle.
Yeah, because the networking opportunity and like you were saying, like that, what'd you call it? Your karma debt coming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like all these other bands did us a favor. Now it's my turn to return that. And Midline did that a lot with
like show trade.
There was some bands up in Spokane and Seattle area that we became really good friends with, and we'd book these little mini tours together. There might be like anywhere from like 5 or 6 to 12 dates in a run, and you just do that with those friends, and it was just a really great experience.
Well, and your guys' heyday too, you guys drew really well around here, and when you have that as a band, you can offer that to somebody else, like, hey, come open for us in Boise, we'll go open for you in Spokane,
right?
But until you build that sort of following in your hometown, it's a little harder for you to offer much,
right?
So, for a long time, and I don't know, like I said, you guys had a successful band out here in the period. I think the 90s were pretty good for Boise, but it went through a lull after that. It seemed like where, like, at least from my experience touring out of here initially, is like most people didn't really respect the Boise. We didn't feel like we had much to offer coming from here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's changed a bit.
Well, I think you mentioned when you were in South by Southwest, that they're like, isn't Boise void of like
exactly.
music scene even and we experienced that a lot too. We would do about 3 or 4 runs to Southern California every year, and you'd play with bands from those areas, and there's a culture to to all of this. Totally. And when they find out you're from, there's a little bit of a snickering, kind of going on that, oh, you're from Boise, Idaho, and well, here in a moment we're going to kick your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be kind of that whole thing.
Got a kick out of that too.
Yeah,
like outperforming their expectations.
We probably notice this more like in Southern California or in California in general, is like we would witness a band playing and maybe the guitar player's panicking because they don't have a guitar strap or a cable or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody in my band would go, oh, here you go. It's just like,
that's cool.
Your show needs to go on. And they weren't used to that camaraderie of helping. And so that made them look at you a little bit differently too. And that was just everybody's nature in the band was the nice guys, but there was that stigma still of like, you're from Idaho. How could this possibly be true?
Yeah. It's such an interesting point. And I've seen that in especially the LA scene, where it's just like everyone's out for themselves, essentially. Yeah. But I know from here, and you guys had that, and I know it's made it a little more natural for us, but I also just believe that, and that's kind of at its core, Treeford is this for me too. It's like, once again, we're playing hosts in our scene. We see that by building up others, it will build the scene up, which is good for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so that I think is actually a more powerful way to be in the music scene, right? Now there are people that cut through by just being like hyper focused on what they do,
right?
But as far as like longevity and really, once again, how you're defining success, that's one of the biggest rewards of being part of the music community is the community itself, right?
Yeah,
not just because you're the stand. It's the same way,
right?
Like I'd rather play in a band with guys I want to hang with that are all willing to try hard than the best guitar player in the world. That's
absolutely
an asshole,
right. Yeah,
you know?
It's so much of the success of playing music with people is just enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're
sometimes that gets lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm discovering now, like. Because I play with Cliff Miller quite frequently, is Cliff will use this term, well, this is my bread and butter. And I'm finding myself at this kind of a tipping point a little bit on decisions I make on what I do or don't do based on my bread and butter. And when you're younger, your bread and butter seems to line up really easily. But as we get older and our responsibilities change, the dynamic of our life changes, like what becomes really important to each other. Sometimes is a division. And it's not, and it has nothing to do with musical ability or the love of the music. It's just like what ends up becoming really important to each individual person.
Yeah,
that's at least my experience.
Totally. Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's catch up on a couple comments here, see if there's anything noteworthy. Thomas, I'm pretty sure my wife that lives to show horses and doesn't keep up with the music hardly at all is starting to like the show because I watch it every Tuesday. Awesome, Thomas.
That's awesome.
I like that you got her on board. And James Harrison says, love Rick. Talk about Rick Schroeder. He used to have drummers call me and ask how to tune their drums. Well, I'm sure, as you know, as a sound engineer yourself, the challenges of trying to dial in a drum set that is just in a sad shape.
Totally. Actually, the drummer that drums for Floating Witches Head, I fell in love with him as a drummer, as a sound person, because his drums always sounded so good. And it was so easy to make them sound good because they already sounded good.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're, listen, this is the, okay, I mentioned a few minutes ago that maybe Eric should start his own school of, like we talked about, like concert etiquette and things of that nature. And one of those, Eric could have me a guest at his school on how to tune drums.
Yes.
Because if your gear sounds good, because I record here, it's if it's right at the source, that makes everything else so much easier.
And like with doing sound too, the same thing. Like I would imagine, and I get it, when you're first tuning drums, you're probably just trying to tune it based on what you think. Well, obviously they're tuned, but then sometimes I find with sound people too, they're just going by the book. It's like, use your ears. Like, does it sound good?
Right.
It's like, it's like just because the book says to do this and this and this, and it still sounds bad, then maybe, so I think with drums, that's why I found the drummer I play with, Michael Mitchell. He's an amazing drummer, but he's always come with creative things to get the sounds that he wants. Right. And not just like, well, this is what they tuned to. You know? Is that something you talk about a lot too?
Well,
different types of drums and cymbals and
Jamie says, thank you for bringing such attention to Boise in our music scene.
Amen.
There
brother.
You go.
Yeah.
There. Do you know Jamie?
I do.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we know each other personally. We definitely met.
Okay.
He's a great bass player.
Yeah. I've known Jamie for
30
years at least.
If I remember, Jamie played in House of Hoi Polloi at one point. He
did.
Right?
Yep.
Which I was a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
I love to tell Steve. I think I told him what we said.
Yeah.
That was like early live music for me. It was like House of Hoi Polloi and the Tourists. I actually remember the Tourists, which I had Larry Kaiser. It's been in the scene for a long time. And
Hoi Polloi would lug around that Hammond B3 organ with
Russ.
the Leslie.
And Russ would play at the Tourists at times too. That's good. Yeah, and Russ would stand on top of that thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I haven't seen him play recently, but I'm guessing he's not doing that anymore.
Man, I just I was talking about the Hammond B with a student recently, and I'm like, it's literally like hauling around an upright piano.
It is.
Maybe it's not quite that heavy, but it's a big piece of furniture.
I had an M3 for a bit, and we hauled around Moscow for a while. Man, I love playing them, but they're not worth the hauling around. I mean, the modelers have gotten a lot better now.
Yeah,
but it's still nothing fully like those are. They're just like playing on butter. It's so nice.
Well, because you're moving air.
Yeah, exactly.
You're moving air when you actually play the real thing, right? And so there's, James says the key to a good sound is good sounding drums.
Jeez. Wow.
Jamie says, "Oh God, we got that thing in Granny's basement." I'm willing to bet if you talk to any long-standing Boise musician, they've played Granny's basement and they've somehow miraculously got some ridiculously enormous piece of equipment down there.
Yeah.
The work to go down those stairs and make the quarter.
I love that room though. I love small rooms. It reminds me of like New York, like small rooms in New York and stuff. And I know it's not used for bands as much as it once was, but I always love that room. But I never loaded any gear into it.
Oh man. there was a point in the like mid to later 90s. I don't remember the years exactly, but Midline did a stint in there for 2 years.
Wow.
Every Monday night was Metal Madness Monday.
Nice.
And like I said, we're not really a bar band. So we would get one or two other bands to play with us. So we'd have 2 or 3 bands. Yeah. And we got to where the first set we would do all acoustic. Mm-hmm. And then the second set we would let another local band open for us and they would use our gear. And then we would play a third set of just the normal.
That's cool. For 2 years?
For 2 years. Wow. Almost every single Monday. Now there was some that we were gone on the road or whatever, but it was a steady thing that we had. It was a steady income that we had that allowed us to afford to go out and do our thing.
Plus just playing once a week like that's great. Like I said we did that Vista Bar residency.
Yeah. You get sharp.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's, historically that's what I love about tour too, is like you're playing it every night and it's so fun to get sharp,
The band can get tight so quick and your show gets better and you just because of the regularity of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And repeatability of it. Before we get to the radio show.
Oh yeah.
I think this might be a helpful discussion, Eric, because you have bands constantly submitting to do things.
Yeah.
And Midline being one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to see? What do you want to see as a person looking to book your band? What do you need from them? How do I want to say this? Mm-hmm. What should a band do to help present themselves in the most professional manner that is going to get your attention to at least check it out and what would be the thing that makes you go, yeah, I got to have this band?
Yeah. So there's two. Let's start with your band wants to open for a bigger act at one of our spaces.
Yeah.
Showing any just like relevant sense of professionalism helps.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, we're mostly a pass-through. Like we can be an advocate, but we're going to have to go to the agent or the manager for the headliner.
Sure.
And in which cases, they're going to be a harder sell. So whatever you have, we get new bands that haven't recorded yet. They're like, hey, we really want to open for the show. I actually told somebody yesterday, I walked in the office. I was like, well, if you could write a blurb that just, they were all in other bands. I was like, yeah, just give me your elevator pitch and I can try, but most likely they're going to want to hear it, especially post-pandemic. Like bigger bands are just like adding less locals, which I'm hoping that comes back. So it's a really important part of the scene, right? That's kind of how you, like you were saying, Midline either had to headline your own stuff or you would open for bigger nationals. That's an important part of the growth of a scene. And so we're always game to advocate. And the biggest thing I'll say to that is like, we can try to keep you top of mind, but just follow up with us. And if you see specific shows that you want to open for, just reach out and just be like, hey, we think we'd be a good fit. We're a big fan.
Yeah.
Because the agent's going to want to hear the music, but what they're going to care about more is like, how many tickets can you help sell?
Sure.
So I think in the end, that's just the truth of it. And so like, make it clear you're going to make it a priority and you're going to help promote and, you think you can get 30 of your friends there. 30 is not nothing. You know, if you can get 150, they'll probably book you immediately. But don't inflate your numbers. And usually when you're open for a bigger act too, you're maybe, you know, the tickets are like $30 instead of $10. So that's a little harder to get your friends to just like buy. So just be honest about, you know. So I think those things, and then I think link to music can be pretty simple. I think some basic description is helpful. Most agents and artists are going to want to see what the social media presence is like too, because that'll help them feel like do they have traction. Now the other side of it is like you want to set up your own show, you know, at like any of our venues. It could be at the big ones, or you know, at the 1,000 cap, or even Shrine basement. In that case, we're pretty open-minded. Like we just want to see a vision. Like you have a show you want to put together and you're going to work and make it a thing. You know, if we can find a date, we're most likely a yes. And in that case, we don't even need recorded music. We just want to see that you're going to try. Right. Yeah. And my at least philosophy is like willing to give everyone a chance. It's more important like how you follow up. Getting the gig is just the start. Right. Yeah. It's like, now, are you going to be professional through it? And professional can be loose, you know, but at least like communicate, don't be an asshole. But, you know, are you going to promote and, you know, do everything you can? Because the best way to get another gig is to pack the house. And then any venue is going to be like, when can you come back? Right? Yeah. So, and that goes for if you're trying to tour too. You know, I think most venues, no matter how good your music is, they're going to be mostly concerned, as much as, once again, we've talked about this, I would love to just support everybody, but at some point there is a bottom line that has to be met. Right. I can't just put people on stage to nobody. That's not good for anybody. No. Either, right.
You don't want to take a bath financially.
So touring, if you're reaching out to venues, they're going to want to know, like, okay, can you bring anybody in Seattle to our club? Yeah. And the answer is most likely no. And so you go find 2 locals and then you code them with your bill and now the bill looks like something that'll work. Yeah. So I'd say for new bands in the scene, like maybe talk to some bands that have been around a little bit and come to us and be like, hey, I have a show, you know, as soon as you can get me a date. The other side is maybe be willing to not play a weekend to start too, you know, because weekends are harder to come by. Yeah. Say, hey, I'll come fill a Wednesday for you guys, and I have a vision. And, you know, if you get 100 people out on that Wednesday, that's going to really help you get started. Right. Right. But we don't really need, like, I know it's really normal for a new band to be ready to play a gig before they've recorded anything. So there's nothing wrong with that. Right. Yeah. I also think if you want, just take a little video of practice or something, especially if you're trying to open for a band, just so we get like a sonic match, like reference point. Yeah. Right.
That you're not too extremely different from the other, staying within a framework of some bands. Yeah. I want to know.
Does that answer that question well enough? You think?
Yeah.
Anything that you've thought of over the years that you would?
Oh, absolutely.
Add to it.
Yeah. When you know, I teach drum lessons for a living, and some of my students are working drummers around town, and they'll get inspired to work on their band, you know, the professionalism of the band and like promo videos. And they'll want to show me a promo video they made for their band that's like 7 minutes long. Yeah. And I'm like, you're lucky if somebody's going to watch 10 seconds of anything. I mean,
so true. Yeah.
3 seconds. They want to see what the band looks like, and they can immediately tell if it sounds good or not. Yeah. So I'm like, I always recommend not having a promo video that's longer than like 45 seconds. Totally. Like a minute and a half is long. Yeah. Like just say what you need to say with the fewest words possible, and not have a bios telling everybody, well, Fred started playing drums when he was 5 and pots and pans. Like nobody cares about that. They only care about what's happening right now. Yeah, totally. At least that would be my perspective of that. Yeah. So I think it's really important when bands are putting their EPK, which stands for Electronic Press Kit. Yes. Yes. You know, having a website is good. Having a good, strong social media presence is probably even better. And just the way that you present yourself, I'm really critical of band photos.
Yep. I would.
When you see somebody that's taken a band photo and they're in the backyard and the grass is long and there's kids' toys everywhere, and it's like you're not considering what else is in the shot.
You can tell a lot from a photo.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But at the same time, like maybe that band is at a stage where they just don't know any better.
Totally. And that's okay too.
And so that's where like, I think it's so great that this festival of discovery, like you're giving a chance to some of those bands to be seen and heard and have that opportunity to get their feet wet and then hopefully start to thrive in the music business. So I think that's all
cool.
Legitimate stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, as you're talking, made me realize too, the other thing I would say to young bands is go to shows, particularly smaller, go to local band shows.
Yeah.
And introduce yourself to the bands. Like your best likelihood to have a fan base to start is your peers that are also playing in bands.
Yeah.
And your friends.
Yeah.
And one of the things they're old, touring friends out of San Francisco, they did this cool thing that just made me think of this, that it was a little more like manufactured, but I think it was like 5 or 6 of these bands, but they started this thing called the Thread Collective. And in San Francisco, what they did as this collective is they all showed up to each other's shows. And what that meant is they all had a crowd at all their shows.
Yeah.
And it helped build all those bands up, because once they had a crowd, then other people were like, oh, who is this band?
Yeah.
And so like, if that's kind of how a local scene can function, right? If we all show up for each other's shows, that encourages the public that are less likely to be interested in the local band shows.
Yeah.
But if it's a happening social scene, they want to come, right?
Right.
So, I think
that's a great idea.
Right?
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah. And I think as a young band, be that person, go to the shows, say, introduce yourself to the other local bands and authentically support them.
Yeah.
And that'll be reciprocated over time,
I have one of my drum students, her name is Serena, and she started taking drum lessons with the only goal in mind was to sit in her living room and play along to songs.
Love that.
And so she got rolling with that. And then she ended up playing drums for the youth group at her church.
Nice.
And so she's been doing that for a while. And then recently, in the last few months, said, man, I'm having so much fun. I just want to play in a bar band. Like,
awesome.
How do I get started with that? And I said, and we did this right in our lesson. I said, go to the Boise Musicians Facebook page right now and make a post that says, hi, I'm an adult female drummer, and I'm looking for opportunities just to jam with people. Nice. And then she made that same post. I think there's the Idaho Musicians page and then like the Idaho Blues Society page. Well, over a period of a couple of weeks, she started getting some interest in that and was invited to play drums at one of the blues jams this past Sunday. And I said, just as exactly what you're saying, Eric, is introduce yourself.
Yep.
And I said, it's going to be really uncomfortable at first. But if you want to get out there, you got to get out there. Totally. You just got to do it. And you got to say hi to people. And she said when she went to this and she was introducing herself, everybody assumed she was going to sing.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm here to play drums.
I love that.
And so they thought that was so cool.
That's awesome.
And so she did. She sat in, I think she said she played 3 songs. And before she did it, she texted me. She's like, I think I'm going to puke. But she did. She got out there and now she's been invited back and created some interest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the very same thing that you're talking about with, if you're a local band or you're a local musician and you want to get in the scene, you got to go, you got to attend. Yeah. You got to be out there networking.
Part of the scene. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. I was
going to say, if you feel like an imposter, just feel comfortable that most of us do. So,
right.
It's like
the producer is back.
Back.
She, our son is in culinary school. And he,
cool.
Oddly enough, does not have his own driver's license yet. So we're still chauffeuring him.
Yeah.
Mary's chauffeuring him.
Good strategic.
Yeah.
Parenting though.
Yes.
Get a cook for a son. I like it.
Well, yeah. And our other son works at Dallas Alpenhaus on Vista. And sometimes, they start making stuff here and you're like, man, that's, where were you? Where was this interest 10 years ago?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Antler Crafts.
Oh yeah.
Radio.
Yeah.
Let's I want to know about this.
Okay. Cool.
What is it? This community radio, and what does it involve, and how often does it happen?
Great. So I got into independent radio in college, like doing college radio, and fell in love with just the freeform radio scene. And then touring a lot once again, like there's a lot of these stations all over the country, and we'd always try to find them, Some of the bigger ones are like the KXPs of the world, or the KRCL in Salt Lake City, or KCRW in LA, which are a little more like programmed. But so anyways, was a fan of being a DJ, but then also listening to it. And that was a gap in Boise. Like, so when Boise State Radio became Boise State Public Radio in the mid 80s, like it basically was no longer a student station. And I love that for what it is, but like really independent radio went off the air in Boise. Now there's some good radio stations like the River and the X and things that have done a decent job with the local scene, but it's not quite at the scale that a truly independent community radio or college radio operates under. So once again, as I was getting active and back in Boise, Finn Riggins, our old band, did a couple of benefits for, I think it was just called Boise Community Radio at the time, as they were looking. It was just online. They were trying to launch this, and so in May of 2011, it went on terrestrial air, and because I was close enough to them, and somehow it came up that I'd done radio before. They asked if I wanted to do a show, and so I was very excited Radio Voice was going on the air, because it just expanded the reach for local bands to get radio play, but not just local bands, all the lesser known touring and independent artists. So it's a thing I'm passionate about. So since May of 2011, I've had a show every Monday morning from 9 a.m. to noon on Radio Boise, and I focus on kind of the tagline of my show is I'm focusing on bands that are coming to town soon, right? And that can be, or playing shows like local bands, and I tend to focus on the smaller acts, because that's what I'm passionate about. Bands are playing 300 to 1,000 caps, but sometimes I'll cover other things, and then I have a certain taste within that. But the cool thing is I can also play deep cuts of whatever I feel like, what I had it yesterday. I played an old Velvet Underground song, so then it's like, then I love doing radio in that sense too, of just connecting the dots of like different generations of music, and it's a fun. But it's 3 hours every Monday morning, and sometimes I'm winging.
Where is it on the dial?
89.9 FM.
89.9 FM.
And there's throughout the week, there's actually Todd Dunnigan had a show for a while. It's called History of Boise Rock, that he kind of focused on the history of Boise rock, which was great. And then there's there's reggae shows, there's a variety of shows, and then there's some that focus on newer, like I focus on newer music for the most part.
Is there like a website or anything for that?
It's radioboise.org.
Mary, could you put that in the comments, the link to that? Radioboise.org.
And it's one of the best opportunities for local bands to get airplay too. So, send them your music, or, it's like, and yeah, it's great.
Jamie says, how does someone get a DJ spot? Jamie, are you starting a show, bro?
Yeah, I love it, Jamie. You definitely should. I think if you just go to radioboise.org, there's probably links to how to get involved. Yeah.
And
I'm not in charge of that. I volunteer DJ every Monday morning.
If we want to tie this back to Jamie's comment from Rick Schroeder about how to play bass live, there's a radio show right there, Jamie. Right?
Yeah, in fact, I was going to say next Tuesday, which is maybe after you tune back into the Drummergy podcast on next Tuesday, they're Radio Boise doing like a local music day where they have several local bands coming into the studio, and then they're going to be playing recorded music throughout the day.
Wow.
I forget what the occasion is, but anyways, I think it's Tuesday.
Christian Housel is here. He says, great interview this morning. I really appreciate the work that Eric's done for our musicians at Idaho Fine Arts Academy and his support of arts education and giving these students real professional experience. Thank you.
Well, just comment on that and thank you. But Sean Scrivener over there has been a big champion of that work.
Yeah.
Do you guys know Sean?
Oh, yeah.
Does he play with Casio Dreams at times?
No. He's with Jukebox.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to be filling in, playing a handful of shows for Jukebox here coming up. John had an issue with his wrist and needed a backup
right
away.
Nice.
So I'll be doing that. But so we've had not this year, but the year before, we recorded a full album of the students from Idaho Fine Arts Academy right here in this space.
That's great.
We had like 40 some students here over a period of 2 days, I think.
It was 34. Yeah.
And
in 2 days.
it was fun watching Sean manage all of that. Like, not just, and Mary had some pre-production meetings with him as well too. Like, this will be the flow of it, and then manage, because obviously our studio is small, and managing the flow of people coming in and out here. But Idaho Fine Arts Academy is awesome.
Well, and I was going to say, and that's awesome. I think this is also, I think there's so many, like Boise Rock School is another example, what you're doing, Boise Hive. There's so many new opportunities for kids as they get interested in music. And then on the festival side is kind of like a goal or an outcome that, but they need like the support to get there.
Right.
But Idaho Fine Arts Academy has been hosting a showcase for the last several years at the festival where we put them on one of the stages and the students do a thing. But then they get treated like one of the artists, and they get to go to the artist lounge. And there's some other student groups that get that and get to kind of see what it looks and feels like to be an artist at a festival like that.
Yeah.
And what I love is then they start being like, oh, that artist, I'm not that far from that. They see themselves in the other, the other artists. But having recording opportunities, stuff like that's so great.
Yeah, there's now, if a school existed like that when I was going to school, I was completely unaware. And maybe in bigger cities it did exist, but it's so great that these students have this opportunity that Idaho Fine Arts Academy offers.
There's so many of them that are, real like former students there that are active in our scene now, and they're great players, and some of them have moved on, but it's cool. Yeah, I agree.
It's awesome to witness all that. Gary, you missed this. Well, there's the replay, bro. there's always the replay. If anybody has any questions for Eric, go ahead and put those in as we're nearing the end here. It's so cool to talk to you about where you started, and I'm still kind of hung up on this thing where I think it's a cool deal where you were at college and you met somebody that said, well, I've been painting houses, and you went, was it engineering, you said?
Yeah, I was chemical engineering student.
So
fresh off an internship at Micron,
So is chemical engineering still off in the future, or was that put away?
I think it was always like, I could always go back to that if I wanted to. I think it was just realizing like I can choose a path of what I want to do. Yeah. What does that look like? And that money will come, and like life is, having a purpose is more valuable than having a paycheck. And that's kind of how I just reframe things, at least until
do you think that I'm kind of all in this mindset thing? Do you think that your idea of having a purpose and prioritizing that over the paycheck thing allowed you to have a life and a living doing what you love?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, even touring, like, I think it was that one of those years my wife and I collectively made $12,000 in a year, but we survived, So once you realize you can survive, like, and that we loved that year of our life, it's really freeing, right? Yeah. So now, sure, we have a daughter now. We have things that cost money.
Yeah.
Money. We're not ignorant to the fact that money matters too.
Right.
But if you can lead with doing what you love and build around that.
Yeah.
I spent so long thinking that was impossible, and once I realized the possibility in it, it was like, oh,
yeah, right. You guys are doing it,
and getting around the right people that could say, yeah, you can do this, and this is how you do it, and I think it's really important. So, like, following your passion is, I think that's paramount.
Yeah,
I think it's paramount.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I get to do this show with cool people like this, and the producer sitting in the other room.
Yeah.
What okay, so the Tree Fort Music Festival is what's the date
March
that it's
25th through 29th?
And is there a website people go to that to buy tickets?
Go to treefortmusicfest.com, and it's got a lot of variety of ticket options. But
so let's put that in the comments there, producer.
one thing I'll say is if you haven't been before, like maybe just look at doing one day at the main stage, and I think it starts like $70 or something like that. The full pass is like $320, but if you want the full experience of just like the festival of discovery, get the pass, or maybe just get the pass for one day, and you can just bounce around and get a taste. But yeah.
And submissions are over for that, right? You're ready to roll. You're ready to roll.
Yeah.
There it is, treefortmusicfest.com.
And if you haven't ever applied to the festival, we'll open submissions again in August. And
so that's when those
usually
start. Yeah.
And these are all original bands, right?
Yeah, for the most part. There's some. We've done a few. It's mostly original stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great.
Right.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you so much for coming, man. This is awesome.
The best 7 a.m. date I've ever had.
Do you have any more questions, producer? No? All right. Well, like I said, we met doing that music panel for the Tot Talks.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Connor and Town of Trees, hopefully they'll do some more of that. I'm sure just that event alone there's a lot of planning to host something like that, but it was really cool. And it was an honor to meet you then. And I'm so glad that you decided to give into my,
I love it.
My request.
It was an honor. Thank you. Yeah.
As a reminder, the show is sponsored by 12th Fret Music,
That's
located at 671 South Capitol Boulevard in downtown Boise. And this is where normally our producer would say something about 12th Fret Music.
Well, yeah. But go ahead.
Oh,
you're already going.
The Pacific Northwest's largest inventory of new, used, and vintage guitars and amps and basses and all that kind of stuff.
And they are dedicated to helping you find the right instrument for you.
There you go.
Yes.
Boom, just like that.
Right.
Thanks a lot, guys, for showing up. Mark says, great show, guys. JB, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next week. All right?
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.